Have your listings been affected by the dreaded ad block issue on the eBay promoted listings update from the fall seller update of 2019 on eBay? Well, if so, then I think you're lying to yourself, and I'm going to prove it to you guys in this video right now. So how's it going, everybody? Ecom Tom with another video coming at you guys, and in this video, I want to talk about the big hoopla that has been happening, or everybody's been talking about in the Facebook groups, on YouTube, and even in my private members group about the whole entire eBay ad blocker, AdGuard, the Chrome extension that's just getting rid of all sponsored listings. And now after eBay's update, when you sponsor a listing, now it's only going to show up sponsored. Now you're only going to be selling promoted listings, and eBay's just trying to take your money. I want to prove that that's not true. None of that is true, and I'm going to prove it to you guys in this video. And I really hope that you can look at this objectively and just not from an emotional standpoint, because I prove in this video that when you have promoted listings, it's not just showing up promoted, and that eBay is picking and choosing when to show it, and that AdGuard, I mean, yes, it does block the sponsored listings. That is true, but there's not that many people compared to the amount of people in the United States that live in the United States that are using these ad blocking programs, first off, and anybody in the world can use them. There's not that many people that are using them. So, and I break down the top 5 ad blockers that I found on the Google Chrome extension marketplace, whatever the hell it's called. And anyone that had over 1 million, I actually broke down and I checked if it did the same thing that AdGuard did, because everybody's making a big stink about it. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's get into it. All right, so before we get started, please be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. And when you do subscribe, please be sure to hit the bell notification button. It is the only way you will actually get notified of all the updates that I have on this channel. And if you do like this content, please be sure to hit the like button, because it will help get this video out to as many people as possible. So I do have a question for you guys before we get into talking about this whole promoted listing ad blocker thing. And my question for you is, what do you think about it? Do you have any opinions on it? Do you think it's really affecting your sales? Like I said in the beginning, I was pretty skeptical. I was like, oh, well, I don't know if this is actually true or not. And after doing some research, I really don't think it's a big issue at all. And I will explain in this video. So let's get into it. So first off, there's a breakdown. And the breakdown is that in the eBay fall seller update in 2019, there was a thing saying, you know, your duplicate, your promoted listings are going to be just not duplicated anymore. So I'll show what that means in a future slide. But basically it was that when you promote a listing, you would have a regular listing there, and you would also have a sponsored listing showing up somewhere else in the search range somewhere, and we'll go over that a little bit more. So it says sponsored listings, no more duplicates, and you know they said that they'll get rid of it. But you need to really read exactly what they did say, because if you read it, then you might change your mind on this. So there was a couple big YouTubers that came out with saying that AdBlocker is, you know, some of the ad blockers out there, specifically AdGuard, is getting rid of the whole sponsored listing thing, and that is true. So if somebody is using AdGuard, it will disappear. The sponsored listings will disappear. But I'll go more in depth in that as well. And you know, one thing that I want to say is that not all views and impressions on eBay are coming strictly from eBay. Are the majority of them? Yes. Are about 90% of them? Yes. But I will go into the 4 other ways that you can acquire views on eBay without having to worry if your sponsored listing is going to show up or not show up. And also, some people were speculating that the majority of your sales are now going to come from promoted listings, because if they get rid of the duplicated listing when you promote it, so that means that you're only going to have the sponsored listing, that all of your sales are going to be coming from sponsored listings now. And I did think the same thing myself, and the more that I read into it and a little bit of research that I actually did here in this video, or for this video, I'll show you that that isn't true as well. So first off, what is a sponsored, or how do you know if it's sponsored and unsponsored listing? So basically a promoted listing is when you are giving eBay an extra percentage of your sales in order to push it across the platform somewhere else, either at the top of the actual search bar. Maybe, you know, if somebody searched something like bookcase, but it wasn't the same brand that you're selling, maybe they'd push your brand into that search because of the fact that you're paying extra money. So it really depends, and it's all up to eBay's algorithm as to how they're going to do it. So as you can see here, this is a search that I did. I think I just searched mainstays for this. This was from my last video on actually on the seller update, where I was also confused with the wording and the verbiage of what eBay says as well, but I will break it down for you guys in this video. So as you can tell, this listing right here is just the actual title. There's just the title of the listing, and the one below it says sponsored. So this is a sponsored listing. So somebody is paying eBay an extra percentage. You don't know what they're paying, and whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, you have no idea. But they are sponsoring to get their listing placed higher in search in some way, shape, or form or the other. So first off, let's get into the exact wording that eBay has. I got the little Word document logo here in the actual seller update, and I misread it at first too. So it says eBay, I wrote eBay is choosing which to show, and the more targeted your listing, the better. So it says removal of duplicated, promoted, and non-promoted listings in search. So starting in September 2019, so this has already started, we'll no longer show duplicate, promoted, and non-promoted listings in listings on the search results page. So like I said back in the day, or I mean even just up until a month ago or less than a month ago, if you had a promoted listing, it would show up with the regular title as I showed here, this regular title, and then somewhere else in search it would also show up as the same item. So this item would show up twice with, if this was sponsored, with the sponsored above it as well. So that was one thing that they're getting rid of, and it's really just from what they're saying to clear up the search page so that people aren't confused as to why they're seeing the same item with the same title twice. So I underlined this in red, and this is the very, very, very important part. It says if you are using promoted listings, only one of your listings, either promoted or non-promoted, will appear in a given set of search results, giving buyers a clearer, more relevant search experience. We will, so that makes sense. Like I said, they're only going to give you one showing, whether it's promoted or not promoted. Then it says, this is important, guys, we will select which listing to display based on factors such as listing quality, relevancy to buyer search, and ad rate. So say you have a low ad rate, maybe they won't show your promoted listing. Maybe somebody else's promoted listing will show up and just your regular listing will show up. Maybe your search isn't very relevant to them, so that if anything shows up, it will be the promoted listing. Or maybe they search something so specific that there's no point in even putting a promoted listing up, and then they're only going to show you the regular listing. And I have an example of this, and I will show it to you. So it doesn't really matter what the next line says, but what this is saying is that it's not that if you promote your listings, this is what a lot of people are saying out there, if you promote your listings, then eBay is only going to show your promoted listings. And that's what I thought it was at first, but I mean, I was even wrong. So it's not that they're only showing promoted listings, they're literally choosing when, and this is with the algorithm, this is going to take time as to what to figure out and where, how to figure out what they're really favoring here. But it's showing either the promoted or the non-promoted, but not all of your sales are going to be coming from promoted listings. I've checked, and I have this at the end of the slides as well, that over the last 2 weeks, I wanted to have a decent sample set. Over the last 14 days, it was usually it's around 50% to 55% of my listings are being sold through promoted listings. And over the last 2 weeks, only 41% have been sold through promoted listings. So my promoted listing sales have gone down while my actual sales have been going up, mainly because I believe Q4 is right around the corner. So with that being said, let's go into my computer. I'll show you guys an example of how the ad blocker is actually getting rid of sponsored listings, which is what a lot of people are talking about. I'm sure that's why a lot of people are here. And I'll show you why you probably shouldn't worry about that either. But I do also want to show you the exact example that I have on, the listing that shows up when in one search it shows up promoted and the other search it shows up not promoted. And, I think it's a pretty good example that it's not that everything's going to be selling promoted. It's not that 90% of your sales are going to be promoted. It's what a lot of us thought at first, but I like to do my research beforehand, and if you guys have watched this channel for a while, I do the research first before I actually come out with an emotionally charged video on something like that. So let's go into my computer and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So here we are inside of my computer, and let's first talk about what is this ad blocker and what is happening with the ad blocker that everybody's making such a big stink about. And first off, like I said, this ad blocker has been around for a while, and this function has probably been taking sponsored listings out of people's searches, the people that do use it. But I'll show you that it's not that big of an amount of people. It's large, but if you think on the large scale of the world, it's really not that big of an amount of people. And just what is it doing? So the ad blocker is called AdGuard. So I'm going to type it in here, AdGuard, if I could spell. And it looks like this. So this is the ad blocker, and I have it disabled right now. So I typed in mainstays bed frame, and I got all of these listings. And if you type in Control F and you type in sponsored, then you'll end up finding that there's, the first sponsored listings halfway down the search. Then under it's below that is one of the sponsored listings. So now if I turn on AdGuard or AdGuard, whatever it's called, AdGuard, I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to refresh the page here. Then you're going to see that if I do Control F, type in sponsored, and press enter, nothing shows up because there's no sponsored listings because it did take it off. And if you do look, it says that it's blocked 11 things, and it says ebay.com protection is enabled, which means that somebody complained to AdGuard and was like, hey, guess what? I don't want sponsored listings on or sponsored ads on eBay anymore. Please come up with a function. So first off, one thing about it is What if eBay changes the way this code is in their website? Then AdGuard's going to be behind, and it might not even block the sponsored listings anymore. Secondly, how many people actually have AdGuard, and how many people in the world are there, or in the US are there that are going on eBay.com? I'll talk about that in the slideshow when I get back to it. And then thirdly, your listings don't show up as promoted all the time. So I'm going to turn off AdGuard, and I'm going to show you right now. Here we go. AdGuard's gone. So we're going to refresh the page. And everybody's saying if you promote your listings based off that update that everybody was talking about in the eBay fall seller update, your promoted listings will not, every listing will show up promoted no matter what now. We do Control F, type in sponsored. You'll notice that there's 9 now. So we will go to the first sponsored. I don't know why my computer's freezing. All right, sorry, my computer was freezing. I don't know what was up. So we'll refresh the page. We turned off AdGuard. There's no AdGuard up here. You can see that. We'll refresh the page. We'll do Control F again. We'll type in sponsored, and we'll see that it's still just not showing up. My computer's just freezing. I don't know what's wrong. So here's sponsored listings, and this listing is showing up sponsored. I typed in Mainstays bed frame, and this is the one that I wanted to talk about. This is just the first one I grabbed. I just didn't like the look of that one. This is Mainstays 18 high profile foldable steel bed frame powder coated durable steel. Does it say Mainstays bed frame in it? Yes, but could you have said Mainstays bed frame? Could you have made it say 18 inches? Yes. Could you have made it a little bit more targeted? Is the price a little high? It might be a little high. This is a foldable. Doesn't even say what size it is. It's not a very good targeted listing. I would say people could have definitely made it better. There's only queen here, and I mean they clearly just stole the SKU grid template. It could be a little bit better, but I mean it's not the worst listing out there. So this one did show up sponsored. But this is a pretty wide phrase out there. Mainstays bed frame. There's 691 results. That's a lot. So I scrolled down, and like I said, eBay is going to choose whether they're going to show you your sponsored or your non-sponsored listings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the title. I'm going to, first off, I can search it here. I never searched it here yet. So I'm going to go over because I accidentally did copy the word sponsored. So we'll get rid of that. And there's only one. So if we go into eBay, and then I'll go straight to ebay.com. We'll make sure that there's no funny business here. We'll just type in Mainstays. We'll get rid of the sponsored at the beginning. And then enter. Here is the same bed frame, the same listing, 8246. Right here, I'll get rid of this. 8246, it's the same picture. This was by somebody, Shop Sun A-Tax or whatever. And then if you click right here, it's by Shop Sun A-Tax. If you look, this is a very targeted search. Sure, this is pretty targeted, but if you type in a little bit more than just Mainstays bed frame, maybe Mainstays high profile bed frame. Right now, this listing is not showing up sponsored. We can refresh the page, we can check everything, but people saying that when you sponsor your listings now, only your sponsored listings will show up, that makes no sense. There's a ton of listings here that aren't sponsored. There's a ton of listings on the last page that weren't sponsored. eBay is now just picking and choosing when they're going to show your sponsored listings. So that's that. That whole entire thing about your listings being completely sponsored at all points in time, that's debunked. That's not real. So don't worry about that. So now we're going to go back into my PowerPoint slide. And we're going to talk about the top 5 ad blockers that I found and whether they do or do not get rid of the sponsored listings on your search on eBay. So we're back inside of my computer, and as I said, these are the top 5 AdBlock extensions that I could find. I just typed in AdBlocker on Google Chrome. These are Chrome extensions. This is it's the main browser that everybody uses nowadays. Number 1 is AdBlock Plus, and it has 10 million plus users. And no, it does not block the actual sponsored listings. You guys can check it out yourself. Number 2 is uBlock Origin. So everybody's making a big deal about AdGuard, but uBlock Origin is actually bigger than AdGuard. It has over 10 million users as well, and that does block sponsored listings. I did check that as well. And then there's AdGuard, which is 6.3 million users, which is what everybody's been talking about. And yes, that does block sponsored listings, mainly because what we've actually kind of figured out is that some people complain like, I don't want sponsored listings on eBay, or I don't want sponsored listings on Amazon, because they think that they're just spammier ads, or maybe it's not actually the right item that they're looking for. So that's kind of why, and that's why I think some people have it. There's Pop-Up Blocker Chrome, which is 2.7, and that one doesn't block it. And then there's uBlock Plus, which is 1.25 million users, and that one doesn't block it either. So first off, you got to think about how many people are in America and how many people are buying on eBay.com a day. I mean, 16 million people in America have the two biggest, or 16 million people in general. It's not just America, have the biggest 2 ad blockers out there that do actually block eBay sponsored listings. First off, you need to realize this has probably been going on for a while. This isn't just a new thing. I feel like people are making a big deal about it because now supposedly all of your items have to show up promoted, but as we proved that that's not a thing. All your listings aren't all going to show up promoted if you promote all your listings. So there's no reason to end promoting your listings, in my opinion. And it's only 16.3 million people use the two biggest ones. Sure, there's some smaller ones out there, but they're under the million user rate. But it's like that's only 16.3 million in the whole world, and there's 330 million people in America plus whatever internationals that also buy on eBay. If you are going to talk about, if you're going to talk about the global shipping program and all the other people that you can potentially reach, that's still not a huge subset of the amount of people that could possibly be on eBay.com that are even using the top two biggest ad blockers that are going to be blocking your sponsored listings. Not to mention the fact that your sponsored listings aren't always going to show up sponsored. They could show up naturally and organically in search as well, as long as the search is targeted enough. So like I said, it just seems like a bunch of mass hysteria that's showing up for no reason. And I don't understand why. I don't like to make rash decisions, like I've said, and I wanted to sit back, do some research, actually look into things, and these are the results that I've come up with. So I don't think it's a big issue. And I also do want to talk about now the 4 other ways that you can get searchers or people to see your items without having to buy it promotedly or through promoted listings. So there's 4 other places, and 2 of them are really the main one. First off, I checked my impressions, and it's about 1.85% of my impressions. And an impression is when somebody sees your listing. It doesn't mean if they clicked it or not, but it's if they see it, if they scroll by it, if they just see the listing, if there was a chance that they could have clicked on that listing. So only 1.85% of my impressions are coming through my store. So that means that they clicked on my store, they're actually inside of my store, and they're looking through only the items that I have in my store. So that's it's not a large amount, but we estimated about 10% of sales are going to be coming from other sources, and this is just one of them where they're clicking on your store, they're looking through your store, and they could possibly buy an item that way. So that's 1.85% of impressions. And then I have the chart on the next page, but it's 7.7% of my listing views. That's when they click on your listing and they look at your listing. Views are coming from outside eBay. And the only way I can figure that would be a thing is if it's coming from good old Google.com here. eBay does show up in searches on Google.com. So therefore you search Google, you look for an item, you click on the eBay link, and then you go straight to the listing. You're not getting it promoted or anything like that. And that was 7.7% of my views on my listings. So I do think that is a decent percentage to actually take into consideration. Not like earth-shattering difference, but it is still, leaning towards the 10%, like I said, of sales, views, impressions, and stuff that are coming from not just eBay itself. There's also the chance for repeat customers, and you could have repeat customers in any way, shape, or form, whether you've built a brand. But if you're drop shipping, there are still repeat customers if you have a more niche-based store. But it's not something to bank on. You could always maybe message your buyer or something afterwards, try to get them to buy again. But again, repeat customers are definitely less of a thing compared to Google and just impressions through looking through your store. And then lastly, this is the smallest percentage, the backlinks. It doesn't really apply to drop shipping, but if you had backlinks on a blog somewhere, or somebody found it that way, or to some other website out there, or if you for some reason were running Facebook ads, you could probably get people that way. But I don't see the need for that. I don't think that as dropshippers that really applies, or especially with what we're doing, the more retail arbitrage side of dropshipping. I don't think it really matters. So this is the graph showing the inside of one of my eBay stores, and it says, I don't even remember what I clicked on to find it, but this is from within eBay, and the darker is from outside of eBay. So that's how I got the number 7.7%, because all these I added them up. So if you highlight each day, it will give you how many came from inside eBay and how many listing views came from outside eBay, and I just added them all up and I did the average. I did the percentage. It was 7.7%. So, in conclusion, let's talk about this in conclusion, just objectively, without any emotions behind it. First off, this has probably been happening for a while. People with this AdGuard or the other AdBlock, whatever it was, that's probably been happening for a while. So your sponsored listings probably haven't been showing up because of that, no matter what. So is there a large portion of the people in the world using these two big, the two ones that actually do block these sponsored listings, AdBlockers? No, I don't think it's really that big of an issue. I don't think it's that big of a percentage. But even if it is, this has been happening for a while, and now it's just the hysteria that your listings, if promoted, will only show up promoted, is now causing this big issue. But I don't think it's really an issue. And first off, it's not black or white, or second off, it's not black and white what eBay will show and when they will show it, whether they're going to show your promoted or your non-promoted listing. It's really up in the air, and as I've said, it's going to take time to be able to figure it out and actually know 100% what is going on here. So in due time, we should be able to figure out whether promoting all your listings or not promoting all your listings is going to work better. But I do believe still that promoting your listings is going to lead to more sales no matter what. And your non-promoted listings or your listing not in the non-sponsored form will still show up in search. We prove that. So, if you make better listings, more targeted listings, then you're probably going to improve your odds of selling it in a non-promoted fashion. And that's going to get rid of any potential ad block issues and just the fact that you don't have to give eBay extra fees. They did talk about in the fall seller update as well that if you are constantly, making your item specifics as good as possible, then people are going to be able to find your items easier. So if they type in red bed frame or something like that, but you only have bed frame and nowhere in your item specifics do you say that it's red, minus the fact that the picture's red, or the look of it is actually red, then they're not going to be able to find it as easily. Then maybe eBay would have to shoot your promoted listing in there. So these are all just things to take into consideration. And lastly, in the last 2 weeks, I went over the last 14 days of my store, and only 41% of my sales were promoted. My sales have been going up, and less have been promoted. So I'm not sure. It's too small of a sample size to actually be able to tell at the moment, but it doesn't seem like there's been a big change no matter what. So in conclusion, Please post all of your questions below, because I know that this is a hot topic and this is what everybody's been talking about over the last week, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. So let me know what your opinions are. I would love to hear it. If you guys think I messed up or missed a point or just overlooked something, please let me know. Don't be afraid to ask questions. As little Lego man always says, the only stupid question is the question that you don't ask. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to subscribe. And when you do subscribe, please hit the bell notification so you will be notified when I post great videos like this. And that's about it for this video. So I don't think the eBay promoted listing scare of September 2019 is that big of an issue. But please, if you do have any issues with what I talked about inside of this video, please let me know. And I'll answer every single comment and question out there. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.